You encounter a lot of difficulties when you try to change yourself, to improve yourself, to become the new version of you, the enhanced version of you, because there is a part of you that wants you to stay the same. That part of you is sabotaging you all the time. And you've probably heard already of all these people talking about you have to let go of that, let go of your past, let go of your limiting beliefs. I even say this in lots of my videos, but how can you actually let go? Like, what's the step-by-step process? Because if you are a logical person like me, then it's gonna be very hard for you to understand these feeling-based things we have to do. We just want a step-by-step process that we can literally grab a pen and do something, right? This process is all about feeling, that's the truth. There is no way you can logically think your way out of this. You have to feel certain things and you have to face certain negative emotions. That's basically the only way it works. Now, I will try my best to break it down as logically as I can for you to understand as well, because I have really done some research into this. I really put some time into this and managed to really improve my life a lot. We are goal-based creatures. We like to set ourselves goals and to achieve them, to set ourselves rules and to live by those rules for the entirety of our lives. That's why people many years ago used to believe in God so much and were doing absolutely everything just to obey God and the religion and the Bible and all of these things, or whatever religion there was. But the idea is that we like to live under these rules all the time. And unless you have conscious rules, you still have subconscious rules, whether you're aware of them or not. They are still there and they are still guiding your life. Now, when it comes to changing yourself, to making a transformation, for example, you might be a very shy and introverted person and you feel a lot of social anxiety, but you would like to be more outgoing, more chatty, more open, better socially, more charismatic. You feel something blocking you all the time. You make a bit of progress, then you go back to your state. Because there is this part of you, this law, this rule that you live by, that's telling you you can't be like that. And there are a lot of valid excuses for this. For example, if we were to take the example of someone who simply can't get rich or can't get out of a certain ceiling of success and of financial success in general, they probably believe something like people that are rich are sketchy. They betrayed other people, they ruined someone's life. They made something illegal, so it's impossible to have money if you are a normal person, a good person. So they never end up achieving that. You might find yourself in the same scenario, where you believe something like people that are social are, don't have any secrets, or they are exposed to too much social pressure, or they are never getting validation, or they are just getting judged all the time. You might have some of these beliefs. And this is something for you to really work on. This is an action step for you to take some time away from distractions, just by yourself with a piece of paper, with a pen, and just try to audit your mind and find what are those limiting beliefs that are holding you back from this. Now, after you've found these limiting beliefs, and by the way, this might really be a long list because there are always so many limiting beliefs. And some of them really seem like valid excuses. But especially those that you are like, oh, but this is valid. I'm not going to write it down because this is true. No, write it down as well. Write it down as well because that's a limiting belief as well, but you just can't see it for what it really is. After you have your list with many entries, you have to really dive deep into yourself. Take some time. This is not something you can practically do. Just it's these feeling-based things we don't really like to talk about and we want to avoid all the time, but this is where the value is. This is where the transformation really is. To take some time and really face them completely, face your fears, face these limiting beliefs and try to break through them psychologically, obviously. It's very uncomfortable to think about this and to go through this process because you kind of have to become something that your subconscious doesn't want you to become. And that's the way to break the limiting belief. That's the way to break your barriers and all of that resistance. Now, what's also very, very helpful, especially if you are on this pursuit of enhancing your social life, is to try to break your normality in the social interactions. So a concrete example would be that you are very reserved and you are a very respectful person. You don't talk a lot. You're a respectable person in general. What you could do is go out there in society and do something extremely weird, like start yelling, or maybe even something more normal, like cold approaching people. Maybe get down on the floor and do a push-up. These things are extremely absurd, and you don't want to do them, but they trigger you. They trigger you, and that's exactly when you can face your anxieties, your limiting beliefs, your excuses, and break through them. And when you do that, when you feel that fear, all of those negative emotions that you oftentimes want to avoid, when you truly manage to clear them, there is a lot of valuable data that comes up consciously. And you can then acknowledge the fact that, oh, I felt like that, but this is not necessarily very appropriate. I was just talking to a person. This is not a life or death situation. Why was I feeling like that? And then there is something to work on continuously and to keep exposing yourself to these uncomfortable situations. Now, there is a point where these situations get comfortable as well. Because if you expose yourself for long enough to a certain situation that's uncomfortable, it soon becomes comfortable because you get used to it, you become numb to it. But it doesn't really solve the cause, it only solves the effect, if you will. Where if you don't do this anymore, if you take a break from your work of exposure, your anxiety just returns and you realize that you've done nothing actually. You've only numbed yourself, and then you are always addicted to this numbing. That's why this is so important. You have to do your work, you have to really face your fears and the things you are least comfortable with. Because when you face them and when you consciously and subconsciously work on them, when you use both your logic and your feelings to work on them, that's when you create this synergy and they are actually destroyed and you can break out of them. Simple thinking and simple feeling won't do anything. They have to go together. You have to get through this iterative process that takes weeks, months, years, because you've been just the opposite. Like, if you want to be more social, you've probably been shy for 10, 20 years of your life already. You can't expect yourself to just break out of that in minutes, can you? It's something that takes a lot of time, but there is progress. You can really see your progress as weeks go by. And it's pretty nice to acknowledge that and to see how much nicer the world feels. But at the end of the day, what also matters a lot is, do you have the intention to do that? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to make the change? Are you pissed off enough with this, with the state you've been in for so long that sometimes just feels like such a horrible existence? Because if it's not bad enough, you're not gonna do it. You will only make the change when you've had enough, when you can't really go on with this lifestyle anymore. Because it's dragging you down too much, because you're feeling like too much of a loser. But if you're not feeling like too much of a loser, you're not gonna do anything. But if your mind tells you that you're not too much of a loser, you're pretty good, despite the fact that you're anxious all the time, I'm gonna be the one telling you that you are a loser. If you feel all of this anxiety all the time, you really are a loser, and it's 100% your responsibility to change this, and you should feel bad about this, because you have neglected your responsibility to make the change, to go through the uncomfortability. You lived a life that's too nice. You need more of that pain, you need more of that stepping outside of your comfort zone and fear, actual fear of the outcome, not just this vague anxiety that's not even justified. You need to face these negative sensations and emotions, because facing them will give you the biggest progress you've ever seen in your life. Disasters give people the greatest progress they've seen. Of course, some of them just become hopelessly depressed, but if you can view the bright side of this, you have a lot of value there.